Today's story is the story of a creeper. This creeper has been watching OP for years, and there's a lot of twists and turns in this story, but let me tell you guys right now, it comes with every update, and the ending is something you absolutely did not see coming. 3 years ago, I believed that my life was in danger because of a person who, well, is obsessed with me. I went through heck because of that man, and to this day, I don't know who he is. It's been a long time since he's made contact, and I feel secure with my husband, and I've fallen under the blanket of security. But lately, there's been signs that he's back, and now my husband wants to hide me away. I ran for many years, and I can't believe that once again some sicko is separating me from my family in the most important time in my life, during my first pregnancy. The cops are doing all they can to find this man, but they didn't find him years ago, so maybe they're not going to find him this time either. He's a ghost, yet he's hiding in plain sight. I dread each day, jump at each noise, and am terrified of answering private phone calls. What makes a person so sick in the head that they find joy in just, well, creeping on someone? This is not random. I know what caused him to have his eyes on me. It started with me entering that beauty contest 3 years ago. I was living in my hometown, very small and unremarkable. I was working as a social media manager for several NGOs and refugee organizations. I'd often travel out of town and even out of country. When there was a crisis, I went out to help every time I could. That work was rewarding, and it was my only love. I've always been a sporty girl and never ever considered myself beautiful. That was until my coworkers voted for me to complete in a beauty contest that had the chance to go to a national level. Well, normally I would never want to be any part of it. I know that this is a lot of hard work and takes dedication. Plus, with my busy schedule, I just did not think I'd be able to do it. But my Aunt Miranda, who's only 5 years older than me, convinced me to give it a chance, especially because of the prize money. I'd been wanting to further my education for a while, but was ineligible for most loans. If won, I would be able to study further and gain skills that would help me with my career path. On top of that, I could get some publicity of our organization so that we would just look at it as a win-win. My aunt is a former beauty queen who has been working in the industry for many years. She's retired and is now a beauty coach. That woman did magic for me. She gave me all her beauty and workout secrets and coached me so that I would be able to say all the right things. She also introduced me to some really cool people in the industry, which made me gain some more respect for them. I was mostly connected with a girl named Sarah, who was working with the Cancer Foundation. Sarah did not fit into some of the contestants, and as they were a bit mean to her. There was a time when one of the popular girls invited everyone but Sarah shopping. When I got there and realized that she wasn't present, I immediately left. The next day, Sarah was crying. We were having the talent show, and she told me that they have been mean to her and had exposed her in front of everybody, saying that she was trying to get pity points because her head was shaved. They stole her wig, and now she was scared to go on stage. I tell ya, there's this glitz and glam, and then the area, the claws. Do you know the messed up part about this? It was that Sarah did not have her hair because she had alopecia. She did not shave it to pretend she was sick or because of her work in cancer research. Those girls have labeled her a hypocrite and tried to have her shown as a personal poser. Either way, Sarah did her performance after I gave her some support. From that day, we were super close with Sarah, and even after the competition, Sarah was the one person that I could trust after I started getting stalked. I began receiving the gifts around the semifinals. Some of the girls were envious because they were expensive clothing and jewelry, as well as VIP tickets to some football events. Well, I didn't know how my admirer knew that I liked football. Oh boy, but they did. I thought it was an organization trying to establish good rapport because I was one of the favorites for winning, but With time, those gifts became a little more creepy. During the finals, I received a love letter, and the person let it be known that he was present and watching me every single step, and that he loved me. I let the competition committee know, and they promised to tighten security. At this point, Sarah had already been eliminated and had gone back to her work, so I had no one I trusted who could support me. The other girls laughed at me and said that I was just being dramatic. Then they made the disgusting comment accusing Sarah of being my stalker and saying she was absolutely obsessed with me. That night, a girl did not make it to the competition because someone had cut the wires on her car, and it refused to start. She was eliminated, but there was an air of foul play around the circumstances. I dared not say another word, but I wish I could have, because that night I got a text. I remembered the words like they were yesterday. Your favorite movie is The Phantom of the Opera because you've always known that you deserve to shine brighter. None of them is more worthy of that crown. Well, if you've watched the movie The Phantom of the Opera, I think you've made the connection that I immediately got. My stalker was the one responsible for that girl's car not starting. I didn't say anything to anyone because I was scared they would blame me. Not even my aunt knew this, but long story short, I won. But I felt so guilty I could barely even accept the crown, and I could not stop looking over my shoulder. And rightfully so, because what followed next month was absolute horror. I got gifts every week and letters as well as text messages no matter how many times I changed my number. This person was absolutely obsessed with me. When I went with the issues to the police, they could not trace where the letters or gifts were coming from, but I did get some info from them. They said that this person was someone who knew me because of the personal and giftings of the messages. But what could I do with that info? He, I assume it was a man, became bolder, sending me poems, more expensive gifts, and following me when I was out of town, and getting every number that I had. I had to quit my duties as the winner because it was affecting me mentally. I could not sleep because I feared he would come for me. He kept on promising that we were going to be together, and at the time, I wasn't dating anyone, but a friend introduced me to a guy, and I went. Just so that I could keep the craziness out of my mind. During the date, the guy got a text, and it read, "Get out of there now. Bria is mine." I told him to ignore it. There's no way that the guy knew where I was. It could have been a prank, and then I get a text with 2 sheets of coordinates. One was my apartment, and the next was a branch of the company that I've asked to be transferred to. Next came a text message that said, "Wherever you go, you take me with you." I lost it. I started screaming and struggled to breathe. I was scared, shaking like a leaf, and realizing that there was someone out there who could hurt people to get to me. Even the police could not get this man to stop. I had a very dangerous person on my hands, and it was all because I wanted to be a beauty queen. That night, I let one person know that I was leaving, and it was my aunt. She got me an untraceable phone, and then got me in contact with Bo. Bo was a retired friend of hers who worked in security. Bo saved my life. He was able to somehow make the person following me completely stop being able to contact me. I don't know what happened to him, I just know that I moved. Could not have access to a phone or computer for months, and then my aunt told me that I could go back to living normally. And that I did. In my new town, I slowly got back to a normal life, which was when I met Mitch. Mitch is an actuary, and I connected with him like I had not with anyone. I felt like I've known him for years, and I did not get anxious around him like I got when I got around other men. We got married fast. Our families approved, and then I became a stay-at-home wife. I decided to take some time to be a homemaker since I've achieved most of what I wanted to over the years. Mitch knew about my stalker and got me the necessary security measures, be it a physical or cyber. We lived for years in absolute bliss. It was a normal suburban life, nearly boring, but it was brightened by the news that I am now pregnant. Coupled with that news, my aunt moved closer by. We all became a very close-knit family, and my aunt basically took care of me because my parents were in fact so far away. I got all wrapped up in the planning and the bliss that I forgot about my old friend. The first thing I got were pictures of me and back in my beauty queen days with the caption, "Miss me?" With that came some of the same stuff as before, but this time I was fed up, and I told my husband and aunt about it. They considered that it could have been one of my friends from back then. We questioned everyone involved in the competition back then, and that was when we started narrowing down on someone. They told me that they suspected Sarah, but no one had the heart to tell me back then. I said there's no way. But then I was given information that Sarah had been in the closet but came out soon after the competition, but she never told me that. Well, I lost contact with her around the same time that I had to start over my life, and I never went looking for her. I was sure that it was her, and I was mega mad. It made sense because I told her everything that I wanted to before I did it. But when I wanted to confront her, my husband told me that he would sort it out, but he did not trust me around her. He tells me that instead he's going to send me to stay at his family home. He would send the necessary people, like a midwife and someone to guard me, but he did not want me staying in town anymore. But the thing is that I wanted to stay and confront her. The file that my husband sent me, containing detailed information about her, makes me think that this is her all along. I'm in shock and disgusted that someone I considered to be my friend decided it was okay to betray me like this. So what should I do? Should I just be a good wife, or should I go and look for the person who's been making my life miserable for a long time in my eyes? I am only now starting to feel what it's like to have a normal life. I don't know what to do. Update 2 months later. So, I fought my husband and I said I wanted to speak with her. But on that day, my blood pressure went through the roof and I could not go through with it. The doctors told me that if I kept on being stressed when my baby would be in danger, and I didn't want that. The police arrested Sarah and found her guilty of everything with evidence. My husband arranged for me to speak to her over the phone, and she admitted to it. There was something about her that felt strange. And unlike the Sarah that I knew, she's now behind bars, but they're trying to charge her. Despite all that, my husband has sent me here. I've sent my written statements to the police already, so now I plan to have a blissful few months of pregnancy. No one knows that I'm here, not even my own family. We're sure that we got the right person, but I cannot help being unable to shake the fact that I am not safe yet. My husband agrees, for when I spoke with her, she told me that she still loves me, and there was something so chilling about the way she said it. I'll stay here for a while until she's put away for good and I give birth. I don't want her to hurt my baby. I'm posting on the internet because you all are all the ones that I've told the unfiltered version of this story to. Everyone else knows the bare minimum of what's happened, so I'm staying strong for them. But they think that I'm crazy if I tell them something does not seem right. And I have a feeling that this is not over. Update number 2. I've left the house and I'm writing in a journal so that no one can trace this. I'll upload it when I get to a safe computer. Bo taught me some good tricks on how to keep myself undetectable on the interwebs. You must be asking me why I'm posting from a safe computer when, well, my stalker has been caught, right? Well, maybe that's because they caught the wrong person. If I had bothered to do a quick Google search, I would have been able to tell you that Sarah passed away in a car accident about a year ago. I never knew. That means the person my husband had to speak to is a fraud hired by him. Yes. I married my stalker. I know, you're confused right now, but bear with me and let me explain this crazy story to you. While I was at the hideaway, I had very limited communication. I kept a journal of everything that happened to me with regards to the baby, so that I could stop myself from getting mad. My midwife and bodyguard checked upon me, and they bought all my food and were not allowed out of my sight. Naturally, boredom set in. I was only able to summarize my updates in my previous post, and I was dying of boredom, so I decided to go treasure hunting. I was in my husband's childhood home after all, so I was allowed to explore. I expected something different when I was exploring the house. His personality was different. Mitch is a confident and sporty man with a combination of brains. The pictures of him showed a very antisocial boy. What also struck me as odd was a picture I found of him and a girl that I felt I knew very well but could not place it. When I put the picture frame down, I miscalculated and broke it. I went to pick up the shards, cutting myself, and the picture landed face down, enough for me to see that in bold black ink it was written, Mitch and Sarah. I thought I was losing my mind, so I started to look through the other pictures, and sure enough, Mitch and Sarah were together in most of them. It was either the way they related or they were friends in their youth. Such a coincidence, and he did not tell me that he knew my stalker. This was very suspicious, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it, but I was now bleeding heavily. I remembered that there was a storeroom nearby, so I headed for there instead of just calling my midwife to attend to my cut. My mind was not functioning properly, and I'm surprised that I even noticed that I cut myself by mistake. So I opened the storeroom, which, by the way, was surprisingly clean for a place that he had not visited in several years, like he says. I found a piece of paper and tried to stop the bleeding, which was when I asked myself, what are you doing? You need a cloth. I looked around and saw a box where a white cloth was peeking through, and I pulled it out. It was a dress. It must have belonged to someone who once lived there. I pulled the dress out of the box it was in and used it as a makeshift bandage. I tore a piece and sighed as I relieved that the bleeding stopped. Till now, I don't know what made me take that particular set of actions, but what I do know is that it led me to coming across the dress I won my pageant with. Do you know the funny part? The last time I saw this dress, I was donating it to a thrift shop because it reminded me of all the memories of my stalker. Curious, I looked through the box, and there I found hundreds of photos of myself taken from a distance. All these pictures were from 3 years ago when I won the pageant. I found receipts, though faded, of some of the gifts that I've been given, and then to seal the deal there was a notebook, and in it were copies of my work schedule. All of it continued up until 1.5 years ago, which was when the stalking ended. At this point, I was so close to fainting due to how unfathomable this all was, but the final piece of evidence that sealed it for me was the picture of us on our wedding day. In a red marker, he wrote, quote, "Finally, she's mine." It was his handwriting. He did not magically get evidence that I had somebody watching me and was just keeping it from me, because there are many instances where he has known things about me that I don't even remember telling him. But what I did not get was what Sarah had to do with all this, and why she confessed to it when he was the one who was responsible. Furthermore, why would he keep me from him at a time when I was pregnant with his child and when he had started looking after me again? Everything was a lie, and I felt so stupid for falling for this. I was afraid. I'd slept next to this man, confided in him about all my problems and how it made me feel, and he told me that he would protect me. And of course, he would protect me because he was protecting me from myself. I hid that box in my room, called the guard, and told him that I need to go into town and get some lady things. When he tried to put up a fight, I told him that I would get him fired and put up a fit. Then I went into town, logged onto the public computer, and mixed a few settings around so that I could get access to the interwebs. And, of course, he's not going to be able to trace it back. Bo, thank you for teaching me ways to get into a classified database. And though I'm not super good at it, I can run basic background searches. First of all, I searched for Sarah. Sarah passed away a year ago, so it wasn't her that I spoke to. I checked her criminal record and found none, but I did find out that she was his second cousin. As for him, he is indeed an actuary, but there are some sealed records that I could not get access to. As for his movements, he started working where he worked several days after I started living here, and afterward he met me less than a month later. Some of the things he told me about himself were not even true. He had created the quote, perfect man to trap me, and I've fallen for it. I was afraid. I logged out and went back home, and there I wrote all this in my journal. I'll upload it when I get a secure laptop where I knew that he cannot get to me. I just need to process this and figure out a way because I have this baby to think of. So I can't afford to be scared, no matter what. Update number 3, a month later. Hey guys, I just want to thank everyone for your comments. I'm safe now. I'm staying with my aunt, and my baby's safe for now too, but I found some info that's made things take a different turn. So Sarah did pass away in a car accident a year ago, and I don't know who I spoke to. It might have been a paid actor. There's no case against Sarah. He fabricated it all to get me out of the house because he may be cheating on me with someone I am not sure about though. I don't know what his plans are. In his messages, he tells his closest friends that he's leaving me because he fears I'm an unfit mother. And we're arguing, but this is far from it. When I came back, citing complications and emotionally blackmailing him, so that I could come back, he was the most loving husband. But I'm a woman, and my intuition is very, very sharp. I knew he was hiding something else from me. I could feel his shift in energy. He used to be very attentive, but now he was forgetting most things. As long as I was in the house in bed, he didn't text me a million times like before, so I knew there was something else. Someone else. And I felt disrespected by these games he was playing, and I was scared for my baby's life. Was he going to get rid of us? Was there another woman? What if he was on to me and he was now bidding his time? I couldn't sleep most nights when he was next to me. I had to sleep in the afternoon. On the third night since I've returned home, well, something very interesting happened. I was pretending to be asleep and he left the bed. He sat at the desk and took out his laptop and he started working on something. He worked on whatever he was working on and then went back to bed. That continued for the rest of the week, and soon it was an every night ordeal. One night, when he was working late, I dialed the number. Bo told me to use only once if I was really in danger. I summarized what happened, and long story short, he helped me hack and bug all my husband's devices, and now I know all that he's up to. I know that he's been texting people them out of our marital problems, which are non-existent, and saying that once I give birth he's leaving. I texted my aunt and let her know that I'm back and moving in with her. I told her the bare minimum, that I feel I've married a stranger and I need to be somewhere safe. She's coming to fetch me tomorrow and there's nothing he can do about it. Update number 4, and it gets even more messed up. Hey guys, I'm just writing this because I didn't think the situation would get more messed up, but here we are. I moved back in with my aunt for a few days. I told her about my marriage and she advised me in terms of separations. I noticed that something was up with her, but she said she was just missing her daughter and was thinking of moving to be closer to her. The daughter's dad was mugged some days before and she was concerned about her daughter. So, one night I woke up and had a midnight craving, so I visit the kitchen to get some ice cream. Vanilla. When I opened the door of the freezer, I felt a tight grip on me and someone tackled me. It was in the dark and I was on edge, so I screamed and punched whoever it was. When I recognized my aunt's voice, I told her it's me. She turned on the light and the sight of her frightened me. She was in all black and she had knives strapped to her. I asked her what's going on, and she told me that she feared that she too had somebody watching her. I asked her why she did not tell me, and she told me that I was already stressed. Guys, it started around the same time mine started and did not end when Sarah was caught. I told her to tell me and show me everything. Guys, I lost all the color in my face when I saw the writing style. It was the same as my husband's. Even the picture and gifts were the same. I told her my suspicions, and we've decided to stick together and figure this out. Get him to confess and hopefully stop him from doing this to anybody else. Update. It's over. Guys, it's over. My stalker, my husband, is out of my life. Divorce is just a formality, but he's already dead in my eyes. I confronted him with the box I found in the storeroom, and he confessed to me what happened. I made sure that my aunt was nearby in the home before I confronted him, just in case. Well, I told him. I thought that he would deny it, but when he saw that box, he told me that he had hoped I would not find out because he did not want to ruin the image that I had in my mind of him being some sort of hero. A hero who threatens my life. You're also creeping on my aunt, aren't ya? I asked him, and his eyes were filled with sadness. I couldn't take this sadness. I preferred anger or pride at what he's done. This was not the face of a monster I imagined the man who had been making my life hell without it. This was the man I've fallen in love with, who's sorry because I found out his dirty, dark little secret. I asked what had been on my mind. Why? Why? He told me that he had first seen me 6 years ago and fallen for me, but he lacked the self-confidence at the time. He never saw me again until his cousin, Sarah, was in the pageant with me. He went to all the shows and absorbed all the info that I gave to Sarah, who gave him the info because she thought he was serious about asking me out. But he didn't feel so good enough about it, so he starts to send the gifts instead. And he did cut the wires of that girl's poor car. He was inspired by the Phantom of the Opera, my favorite. He broke apart right then, and his eyes crazed as he begged me to understand, but all I felt was ice in my heart, cold in my veins. He told me that he carried on until Beau got close to catching him and he left me alone. He moved to my town, approached me, and we fell in love, but when my aunt moved, he fell for her. However, because I was present, he could not do anything. He wanted to leave me, but then I fell pregnant, so he started again to scare me off. He used Sarah, who passed ages ago, as a scapegoat, and sent me away while he figured out a way to be with Aunt Miranda. I came back sooner than he wanted, and he amped up his stalking of her, because he did not know how to approach her. He didn't want to hurt me, but he told me that sometimes he thought of ending me because I was carrying his baby, that he could never hurt me. So then I asked him if he was going to divorce me or get rid of me once I gave birth. He looked at me cold in the face with no emotion in his eyes, and he said this: I would do anything to get the love I deserve. And then the sleeping pills I've put in his tea kicked in and he slumped over. What followed next was in a haze. I don't remember most details, but I know I got him arrested. I had a ton of evidence, and my aunt helped me to testify. He tried to plead insanity, and while his clear obsession with her was dangerous, it was not enough to excuse him. He was put away, and I've not visited him ever since. I'm a few months away from giving birth now, and I cannot move on. My dreams are haunted by images of him stealing my baby, or even hurting my aunt. I'm wondering if this is all just a bad dream. Final mini update, found in the comment section, 1 year later. Hey guys, just an update. It's been a year later. I've given a birth to a beautiful baby boy. I also found out that he set up a trust fund for the baby. It's a lot of money. I can't help but be thinking that he planned to get rid of me permanently so he could go over to my Aunt Miranda. As for Aunt Miranda, she's back to stay with her father of her child, but they're not back together yet. She's been attending therapy and has been my source of strength, my absolute rock. I've also been to Sarah's grave where I apologized for how I thought it was her, selflessly, not knowing she was just a pawn in this sicko's game. The evidence suggests that she helped him knowingly, but I don't want to believe that. I guess I'll never know. The only person who knows is Mitch, and the world will end before I ever go and look at him. He'll never see me or my child ever again for the rest of his miserable existence. He's a nightmare that will only fade as time goes by. So my suspicions at first were telling me, hey, it's probably Sarah. Oh, could I have been more wrong? I did not see this coming, that it was her actual husband this whole time. He was setting into place perimeters to be the one. Let me know your thoughts about this story, guys, and if you've ever been in a similar situation, go ahead and drop it down in the comment section. Maybe your friend or you or someone had your own creeper that you had to deal with. So let's hear about your similar experience stories down in the comment section, guys. If you're new to the channel, hello, my name's Mr. Reddito. I read stories every single day. If that sounds like something you're into and you do want to see these fully updated stories, make sure you subscribe, check out the stories tomorrow. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you then.